Oh, ho, ho. We're looking at a chunky boy today. This is the Miguron Negain. I am Carter, your host at Edged Mindset. Thank you for joining me, liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting that bell notification. And if you haven't done those things yet, please do. It really helps me out. I know I say that every video, but that's because I so desperately need it. If you've come across this video and you're not currently a subscriber, I want you to be. I want you to join the club, hang out, comment, all that stuff. This thing is really cool looking, but, I've got some hesitations about it. I've had it for quite a while now. I did the unboxing, for me, a long time ago. For regular people, maybe not that long time ago. But yeah, this is the Negain. It is a chunky, beefy, weird, kind of odd-looking boy. I like it. I don't love it as much as I thought I would, but we'll dive into that here in a minute. Spoiler alert, there's nothing like obvious. I'm not, it's not that it's like doesn't lock up or there's some sort of major issue or anything like that. It's more of a caught my eye heavily when I first saw it, and then now that I have it in hand, I don't necessarily like it as much as I thought I would. But let's do some quick specs. Real fast. We'll be gentle. We'll be fast. Just the tip. Really quick. We'll see how it feels. 3.5 inches. Just under 8 inches overall. And you may be like, that's not that big. It's all about the girth, baby. This thing is thicker than a Snicker, as we used to say back in the day. Here it is compared to a Kunwu Excalibur right there. You can see the overall length isn't that different, actually. I thought the Excalibur was larger than that. I guess it's interesting, right? Perceptions. Because this is so much thicker, it makes it seem stubbier, but it's actually, it is fairly long. Let's compare it to a Nefarious from Wicked Dream Designs. Very cool. Very similar in size, right? So it kind of has that medium size length overall. Here is the Geo Knives Ethereal, the original version with the clip point, drop point thing going on there. You can see obviously much larger than that. And let's do a McNeese, because I have it here. McNeese Mac 2 3.5. You can see the size right there. But let's compare the width. So that's kind of what the Negain is, right? So Miguron knives, they are a Chinese manufacturer. And primarily, they make kind of pretty, not mediocre, pretty benign, regular flippers and folders. 6.8 ounces, so very heavy. They make pretty regular type folders you'd expect from overseas manufacturers, nothing too special, but they have kind of a line of wild, thick, overbuilt knives, like the Geddon, the Arma, I think it's called the Megageddon at time of filming this. I just found out about it. It's kind of like the PMP Alpha Beast, like insanely half-inch thick steel. I think they only made like 20 of them. They brought a couple to Blade Show Atlanta this year in 2025. I don't know where the rest are going to go, but those things are just absolutely bonkers. So they have kind of this wild line of knives they do, bringing back these kind of thick, overbuilt suckers, but with modern, quote-unquote, sensibilities. What I mean by that is, lock bar insert, bearings, which is kind of an odd feel for big, thick, heavy knives like this. It's something else. It is something else. This is one of those knives that I feel like they went a little too far on it. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So the breakout star of this knife for me is the blade. I absolutely love the blade. You can get it in satin or DLC satin like what I have here. It is compound ground, beautifully done, hollow ground, not too deep. It's real thick. It's real thick behind the edge. It's real thick at that tip. This thing can handle anything you throw at it. I love this swedge up here, kind of this recurved harpoon type thing going on. Satin flats, and I really like this milled pocket for opening there with the added details of the milled lines right there. You've got some really nice aggressive jimping up at the top. Really thick slabs of titanium. Everything is chamfered very well. One thing I will say about this knife is that it is extremely comfortable. It fits me like a glove. If you've got really thick sausage fingers, it might be a little tight. You might not fit in here perfect like me, but it feels so good. And it's because of this adaptive chamfering that they have here. See how it's not like uniform? It actually swells and grows and shrinks with the knife. It is done very, very well. You've got inlays of these kind of pockets of carbon fiber on the front scale right here that mimic kind of these lines. The pivot, man, I don't really like these satin pivot and satin hardware you find on these knives. They just seem to kind of cheapen it. Same thing with this guy right here, which is the, what is it called? The Monster. I always forget the name, Aurora Rays. Similar type thing with this knife. Overall, it's done very, very well, but this kind of satin cheap hardware just takes it down a peg for me. Same thing on this guy right here. I would much prefer, if they would have anodized it at least, maybe a bronze or something, or even a gray, or if it was blasted, had a different finish to it. But this kind of machined, like just came off the machine titanium just seems kind of cheap to me. I don't know, maybe it's just me. The other critique I would make on the design of this knife, not related to functionality or anything like that, is it's just got too much going on with the handles. Like I see where they're going, like echoing some of these lines, but you don't have to do that, right? It reminds me of like when you're a kid and you're in art class and you start painting something and like something kind of works out well and you're like, oh, that's cool. I need to do that all over it. And then you do it all over it and it's too much and it loses kind of the power of the original design. That's what I see going on here. It's like they took every spot that had like, didn't have anything going on and they're like, oh, we got to put that there and we got to put that there. Just too much. I would have preferred this just to have plain handles with the chamfering, of course, but get rid of all these, get rid of the inlays, get rid of all the extra stuff. I think that would have looked much better. At the very least, pick one and just run with that, not do all of it. And then on the back, it's even worse. We've got the same pockets going on here. And then this pocket clip, they just threw these like lines on the side just to do it because there was space, I guess. I don't know. Don't really care for it. I do love when they do these reliefs with like the multi cuts like that instead of one big one. I'm not aware of any like advantage from a practical usage standpoint. I just think it looks cool and they do that, so I appreciate that. You've got a backspacer with like a gear pattern. It sits flush. Very stout construction. Look how big that stop pin is. It is massive. Look how big that is. Nice and shouldered in the closed position. Lock bar insert, really good lockup. It may look skinny, but that's just because of the chamfering. See how when the light hits it, you can see it's a big, thick piece of titanium. And of course, whenever you have blade stock this thick, it's going to make the lock bar seem smaller than it is. It is extremely robust. Locks up very, very well. It carries surprisingly well for how big and chunky and beefy it is. It's not too bad in the pocket, if I'm being honest. I mentioned that this comes in satin finish or this DLC. I really like the DLC, how it works with the carbon fiber inlays there. It's cool. I think these retail around $2.99, something like that, maybe a little bit below. I do have a little bit of a hang up when it comes to big, thick, overbuilt knives on bearings. Just seems kind of weird to me. It's not necessarily a problem, but I don't know. I just feel like if it's a thick, overbuilt, crazy knife, it should be on washers. I don't know. I like that hydraulic feel. For me, bearing knives should be smaller and snappier, but I don't know. Your miles may vary. Your mileage may vary. You may like kind of putting bearings on everything. It's just not quite for me. Oh, another thing that I noticed that kind of bugs me, and this is like OCD, knife nerd, design type stuff. But on this side, you can see the chamfers. It's all kind of uniform. It has kind of like a, bead blast type finish on there. But on this side, for some reason, it's got like a high gloss finish on these main chamfers here, especially up on the lock bar here. I don't know what that's about. It's the only place that has that other than maybe a little bit inside of here. I'm just thinking the way it was blasted or maybe the coating they used on the titanium. I'm not sure what that is. I don't think it's anodization. Maybe it just was applied a little bit thicker right there, which gave it like a shinier type finish. Not quite sure. Just kind of one of those inconsistencies. Now, it's not a super expensive knife. And by the way, M390. I got to start saying that more often. I'm just so used to everything being M390. And obviously it says right there, I'm sure you saw it, that sometimes I forget to mention on these overseas knife if they are M390 or not. Kunwu, for example, does use other steels, Van X here, Van Kron, all kinds of stuff. But most overseas knives, you know, you got a 90% chance it's going to be M390. But yeah, Miguron, Negain, looks cool. A little much for me. What do you guys think? Comment down below. I will catch you on the next video.